In a way, this role for you harks back a little bit to Jeremiah Johnson, right?
That was in 1970, but the only comparative thing would be that I think both films, from an existential point of view, dealt with the same thing, which I really responded to, because it's something I've been interested in my whole life, which is, at what point when things seem impossible, that all seems to be lost, or there's no point in continuing because there doesn't seem to be any point or chance. That's when some people just give up or quit, and then for whatever reason, others continue. And they continue simply because that's all there is to do, is just to continue. That point, this film had that, and I was very attracted to that. What is it that makes some people stop and give up, and others just keep going because that's all there is to do?
I had a writing job at the time, and I had just read a whole bunch of old classic action movies from sort of my youth that I was looking at, because I was actually writing an action movie at the time. And there was sort of a purity, if you look at it, I know this sounds insane, but if you look at a movie like Die Hard, which there's a sort of purity of action of that film that, in a weird way, I realized certainly the first two acts, really do follow kind of a traditional action film, kind of challenge, repeat, accomplish or don't, and then you move forward. And in a way, the hope is that you go through such a journey in those first two acts that by the time you kind of come to this, essentially I've sort of softened you up, hopefully, at that point, so that he's ready to kind of take over that third act in the way that, is amazing. The one thing I think I've learned is if you give the actors, a sort of safe zone with which to feel like they're going to be taken care of, both creatively and just physically, even though it may seem like we beat them up pretty good in this, which we did, but in a way, you would have never put yourself, anywhere, I think, near the way you did if that preparation hadn't been there. And it allowed both of us, once we sort of got into shooting it, I think, to sort of get isolated on this little island, because a lot of it was sort of so well mapped out by the production team and the amazing crew that was there.
There was a little, it was really, really a well-prepared film. When I got there, there was no real preparation for me. There was something for me to walk into. But it had been really well prepared because it's a true independent film. That was another thing that drew me to it. The irony is that in starting Sundance,
I love this irony. Yeah.
years ago, to give opportunities to new filmmakers to have a place to show their work, that after all those years of supporting new filmmakers, no one ever asked me to be in a film.
I was shocked when I heard that.
I was ready to take the film just because he asked me. But it was so
he didn't
well
even read the script, actually. He was just
It was kind of like Woody Allen
so
doing the John Turturro movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He would, the first week or two, he would sort of, it was a very odd situation, but I had Robert Redford kind of looking for me. He was following me around trying to figure out. But I think we quickly realized there are certain very important elements we wanted the audience to have, which was that this is not just a person who's been sailing around the world for 20 years in sort of this aimless way, that this was a person who had a community, who almost definitely had a family, who was leaving that, and sort of taking on something that presumably felt undone.
JC knew this boat like the back of his hand. And so I just sensed that there was a real relationship, that JC is the writer and a sailor, because he is a good sailor. He had a relationship with this boat that slowly became a relationship that I had with the boat. There was this kind of interesting moment. There was a lot of chatter going on because we were working in very tight quarters, and the crew was cramped in there with me when the water was up to here, and so you had a sound guy, you had JC, you had the cinematographer, and we were all cramped there, and there was a lot of chatter back and forth. Get this thing, look out, wait a minute, that's I'm getting.
And it's
What?
multilingual,
Don't
so
drop
there
the
was
plug.
there
Yeah.
was
A lot of
poor.
stuff
I don't
going
know
on.
how he did it because it was the worst run set I've ever been involved with.
But anyway, what happened?
He's
There was
being
this
very
moment
gracious.
that came that was really powerful when I think about it. I think it's in the film, and that is when the boat sinks. I have to release the boat, and I'm on the raft, and I have to get to that point when I have to release that boat and then watch it sink. So when we filmed that, all the chatter that was going on suddenly stopped, and it got to be very, very quiet, and it was just like a death silence as we all watched filming the boat sink.
Yeah, and that was a one-time deal. That's actually the boat. The boat sunk to the 65 feet to the bottom of that tank when it went. That was finally shut us all up. It was good.
I love the idea that even the ending could be left open to interpretation. I like that a lot. I think that the effort that was made at a point when the character really realizes that there is just nothing left and he lets himself go, that moment when we come to that point in life where we're faced with that and there is just simply nothing else you can do, then you have to be able to get to a point where you let yourself go. And then there's that moment where, well, maybe, and you go for that last thing. That's it. What happens, I didn't occupy myself with that. I just felt as an actor playing the role that what I was given was just a man moving towards it, and then the rest is the audience.
Moving
And
towards
I
the
think that JC hits it right. I think it's right. Whatever you feel, it's his choice. Whatever you feel, you should feel strongly.